You take a little pill every morning for your blood pressure. Your doctor started you on it years ago. The number on the cuff reads fine, so you've never thought twice about it. But if you're also more tired than you used to be, if the weight is settling around your middle no matter what you do, if a flight of stairs leaves you more winded than it should, there's a real chance that pill is part of the reason. And the cuff reading looks perfectly acceptable the entire time, which is exactly why nobody has connected the two. The pill is almost certainly one of a class of drugs called beta blockers. They've been handed out for high blood pressure for 50 years, and for one specific kind of patient, they are genuinely life-saving. But the science on using them for ordinary high blood pressure moved on a long time ago, and the prescription pad never got the memo. I'm Dr. John Meyer, and on this channel, I take the research that has changed and put it in plain language for people over 60, so you can walk into your next appointment knowing more than 12 rushed minutes will ever let your doctor explain. Now, before you decide this doesn't apply to you because your pressure reads fine, that acceptable number is the whole trap. It is the reason a pill can be working against the rest of your body while everyone keeps nodding at the cuff. By the end of this, you'll know 3 things: whether your pill is one of the ones the guidelines quietly walked away from, the specific ways it can work against a body over 60, and the exact questions to bring to your doctor so this finally gets looked at instead of renewed on autopilot for another 3 years. And look, this whole question, a medication that's supposed to be helping you while costing you something, it's exactly the kind of thing my patients bring to me all the time about one part of their health after another. So I took everything I tell my own patients and put it into one simple plan for living longer, stronger, and healthier after 60. 28 of the things that actually change as you get older: your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your memory, your balance. And those are only some of them. Thousands of people are already using it to take back their health. It's already helped so many of them live their best life after 60. The link is on your screen right now, and it's also in the description below. So go check it out at drjohnmeyer.com. All right, back to that pill. Let me tell you what a beta blocker actually does inside you, because once you understand it, everything else today makes sense. Your heart muscle is covered in tiny receptors, little docking points called beta receptors. Adrenaline, the hormone your body releases when you climb a hill or get a jolt of stress, plugs into those docking points and tells your heart to beat faster and harder. A beta blocker settles onto those same receptors and keeps the adrenaline from reaching them. So, your heart rate comes down. Each beat pushes with a little less force, and your blood pressure drops. That is the whole idea. Now here is where I want to be completely fair, because this part matters. For certain hearts, that calming effect is exactly what you want. If you have had a heart attack, if you are living with heart failure, if your heart slips into a dangerous rhythm, then slowing and steadying that heart genuinely saves lives, and the evidence for using a beta blocker there is rock solid. I would prescribe one for those patients without hesitating. So, please do not hear me saying these are bad drugs. That is not what I'm telling you. The problem is who else ended up on them, and why they never got taken back off. For decades, beta blockers were a go-to for plain high blood pressure. You might know yours by its name: metoprolol, sold as Lopressor or Toprol; atenolol, sold as Tenormin; propranolol, bisoprolol. They are cheap, they are familiar, and doctors wrote them for blood pressure for 2 generations. Tens of millions of prescriptions a year. Then the research caught up with them, and it was not kind. In 2005, one of the largest blood pressure studies ever run was published in The Lancet. It was called the Ascot trial, and it followed more than 19,000 people with high blood pressure. Half were treated on a plan built around a beta blocker. The other half on a different plan built around a calcium channel blocker, a drug called amlodipine that lowers pressure by relaxing the walls of your arteries instead of slowing your heart. The 2 groups were compared head-to-head for years. The trial was stopped early because the difference between the 2 groups had already become too clear to keep it running. The group that was not on the beta blocker had 23% fewer strokes, 16% fewer heart problems overall, 24% fewer deaths from heart disease, and about a third fewer new cases of diabetes. Hold on to that last one. I am coming back to it because it is a bigger deal than it sounds. Those results were strong enough that in 2006, the national body in the United Kingdom that writes medical guidelines, an organization called NICE, formally moved beta blockers off the first choice list for uncomplicated high blood pressure. They did not ban them. They are still recommended for those heart conditions I mentioned, but for straightforward high pressure with nothing else going on, they stopped being a preferred pick. And now, almost 20 years later, that is still their position. Here in the States, though, millions of people are still on one as their main blood pressure drug. Usually because a doctor prescribed it a long time ago, it brought the number down, and nobody has revisited that choice since. There is no alarm that rings in your medicine cabinet when a guideline changes. The prescription just quietly renews itself year after year. So, let me walk you through the specific ways this drug can work against a body over 60. There are several, and I invite you to notice whether any of them sound like your last couple of years. The first is the one I hear about most, fatigue, and a very particular flavor of it. Remember what the drug does. It stops your heart from speeding up. For a younger person sitting at a desk, that ceiling barely matters because they rarely push their heart very hard. But you're not at a desk. You want to walk the block, carry groceries in from the car, climb a flight of stairs without stopping halfway up. Each of those tasks asks your heart to speed up, and the beta blocker is holding it back. So you hit your limit sooner than you should. Your legs feel heavy. You're winded before you think you have any right to be. This doesn't happen to everyone, but for plenty of people, especially older adults who already have less reserve to draw on, it's very real. A patient I'll call Lorraine described it better than I could. I should say up front that Lorraine is a composite drawn from several patients I've cared for, so no single person is being singled out. She was 72 and told me she'd quietly given up her evening walk. Her knees were fine, in her own words. She felt like she was running on half a tank all day, every day. She'd been on atenolol for 3 years. Her previous doctor had chalked the fatigue up to her age, and nobody had thought to check her pill bottle. And here's the almost cruel part. The single best natural tool for lowering blood pressure is movement, walking, staying active. If the medication makes moving feel harder, you move less. And when you move less, your pressure tends to creep back up. So a pill meant to lower your pressure can end up making the very thing that lowers it naturally feel harder to do. If you started a blood pressure drug around the same time your walks got shorter, that timing is worth a closer look. Write it down. It's the first clue. The second problem is metabolic, and I want to be precise here because most videos on this topic get it wrong. The older beta blockers, atenolol and metoprolol, the ones most people over 60 were started on, nudge the body in the wrong direction on blood sugar and cholesterol. They make your cells somewhat more resistant to insulin, the hormone that clears sugar out of your blood. They also tend to raise triglycerides and lower HDL, the good cholesterol, quietly in the background, while your blood pressure number still looks fine. This isn't a minor footnote. A large 2007 analysis in the American Journal of Cardiology pooled almost 95,000 patients and found people on beta blockers had roughly a 22% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared with people on other blood pressure drugs. Remember that third fewer new diabetes cases from Ascot? Same finding, same direction, showing up again and again. Now here's the nuance almost nobody mentions, and it's the reason I don't want you falling for blanket internet panic on this. Not every beta blocker behaves this way. The newer ones, carvedilol, sold as Coreg, and nebivolol, are built differently. They also relax blood vessels and are close to metabolically neutral. So if you happen to be on one of those, this particular concern mostly doesn't apply to you. This is really a story about the old workhorses, atenolol and metoprolol, which happen to be exactly the ones most people over 60 were started on years back. A quick word on weight, since you may have heard these pills pack on pounds. The honest figure is much smaller than the scare stories suggest. On average, a couple of pounds, mostly in the first few months, and again mainly with the older drugs. It's real, just not dramatic. But if you're already fighting your blood sugar or your waistline, even a small nudge in the wrong direction, from a pill that isn't even outperforming its alternatives, is worth questioning. The third issue is less a side effect and more a blind spot, and honestly, it's the one that concerns me most. A beta blocker often does bring your blood pressure number down. Your cuff reads 128/78. Your doctor sees that, you see that, and everyone relaxes. The number looks reassuring, but that number is only one window into your health, and it happens to be the one window this drug keeps looking good on. Underneath an acceptable reading, if it's one of the older beta blockers, your insulin resistance may be quietly rising, your cholesterol may be drifting, and your energy may be draining away, none of which shows up on the cuff. You can have a beautiful blood pressure reading and still be quietly sliding backward. A good number is not the same thing as the right medication. One more point worth mentioning, and I want to be careful here because the internet badly oversells it. Like most blood pressure medications, a beta blocker can leave you lightheaded when you stand up too fast. That swimmy gray moment when you rise from a chair. In an older body, that unsteadiness deserves attention because a bad fall can start a spiral that's hard to reverse. I'll be honest that the evidence tying this specifically to beta blockers more than to other pressure drugs, is genuinely mixed. But it's one more reason newer classes are usually the first choice for seniors today. Before I show you what the research actually supports instead, and that's the part you came here for, let me stop you, because this next part could genuinely protect your life. Do not stop a beta blocker on your own, ever. Not by skipping doses, not by cutting a pill in half because a video told you to. Once your body has adjusted to one of these medications, pulling it away suddenly can cause a rebound. Your heart rate and pressure can spike hard and fast, and in someone with an unhealthy heart, that can trigger chest pain, a dangerous rhythm, even a heart attack. Coming off a beta blocker has to happen slowly, tapered over several weeks typically, with your doctor monitoring the whole way. What I'm giving you today is information and better questions to ask, not permission to open the cabinet and start making changes on your own. With that firmly said, here's what the research favors for a senior whose only real issue is high blood pressure. The first alternative is that calcium channel blocker mentioned earlier, amlodipine. It lowers pressure by relaxing the muscle in your artery walls, opening the pipes wider. It was the backbone of the winning arm in the Ascot trial. It doesn't carry the same metabolic baggage as the older beta blockers, and it doesn't cap your exercise capacity the same way. For a lot of older adults with straightforward high pressure, it's simply a cleaner fit. The second group is a pair of closely related classes, ACE inhibitors and ARBs. These act on a hormone system that tightens blood vessels and makes the body retain salt and water, and they gently dial that system down. Lisinopril and ramipril are ACE inhibitors. Losartan and olmesartan are ARBs. They protect the kidneys, tend to work well for people also managing diabetes, and are easy on metabolism. One quirk worth knowing, ACE inhibitors give roughly 10 to 15% of people a nagging dry cough. Estimates vary. Common enough that you should know about it going in. If that turns out to be you, an ARB does nearly the same job through nearly the same pathway, minus the cough, usually a simple switch. Now let me draw the line just as clearly in the other direction, because I don't want a single person walking away from a medication they genuinely need. If you're on a beta blocker because of a past heart attack, heart failure, a rhythm problem like atrial fibrillation, or angina, that's an entirely different situation, and the evidence for staying on it is strong. There's even newer research showing the post-heart attack benefit is clearest when the heart's pumping strength is reduced, so it's worth knowing exactly why you're on yours. The concern I've laid out today is aimed at one specific person, the senior whose only diagnosis is high blood pressure, nothing else, who was handed an older beta blocker years ago and never had it revisited. If that's you, this is a conversation absolutely worth having. So here's exactly what to do with all of this. Not tonight, not in a panic, but calmly and in order. First, find out what you're actually taking. Read the bottle. Is it a beta blocker, one of the names ending in those letters OLOL, metoprolol, atenolol, bisoprolol, propranolol, carvedilol? And is it there purely for blood pressure or for one of those heart conditions? If you can't say for certain why you're on it, that alone is worth a phone call. Second, write down 3 questions before your next appointment, because visits are short and you'll forget them in the moment. 1. Is my beta blocker here specifically for blood pressure, and does that still match current guidelines? 2. Have we checked my blood sugar and cholesterol lately, given what this drug can do to them? 3. Based on my whole picture, would I be a good candidate for switching to a calcium channel blocker or an ARB? Write those down and bring the paper with you. Third, ask for a medication review. If you've been on the same blood pressure pill for more than 2 or 3 years and nobody has re-examined it, you're completely within your rights to ask for a fresh look. A great many people are still taking a medication that was standard practice in 2005 and simply hasn't been reconsidered since. Fourth, if you and your doctor decide to change something, ask about the taper, that slow, safe step down I described. A careful doctor will bring you off gradually over several weeks while keeping an eye on you. Fifth, start tracking now, before the appointment. Keep it simple. Every morning, jot down your blood pressure reading, your energy on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you check it, your fasting blood sugar. 3 or 4 weeks of your own numbers turns a vague, "I've just been tired," into hard data your doctor can actually act on. That one sheet of paper can change the whole conversation. Lorraine, the woman running on half a tank, was eventually moved off atenolol by her cardiologist, slowly, over about 8 weeks, onto a combination without it. I want to be honest about how that went because these stories get oversold constantly. She didn't wake up 20 years younger, but within a few months, her blood sugar had settled back down, she dropped a few pounds she hadn't been trying to lose, and she'd started taking her evening walks again. She told me she felt like herself for the first time in a long while. Her blood pressure stayed right where it needed to be, a touch steadier even. People assume leaving a blood pressure drug means losing control of the number. For the right person, it simply doesn't. That's the whole point of today. The medication you're on should still fit the person you are now, not just the person you were when it was first prescribed. None of this is me telling you to quit anything on your own. It's me telling you that you're allowed to ask whether your prescription has kept up. Medicine moves forward. Sometimes the prescription pad doesn't move with it. If this helped you see your own medicine cabinet a little more clearly, do the small things that keep this channel going. Subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment. And if someone you love is on a blood pressure pill and dragging through their days, send this to them today. One honest conversation with a doctor, armed with the right questions, can change how the next 10 years feel. I'm Dr. John Meyers. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.